projection.
Welcome everybody to Taking On Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing today, man?
I am good. How are you today, sir?
I'm pretty good, pretty good. Beautiful fall day here in Birmingham,
Sir.
Alabama. Uh Good weekend of football so far. Baseball playoffs started this week. It's that good time of year for sports, man.
Oh yeah.
NBA, NHL right around the corner. It's a great time of year. So
Yes,
let's
sir.
hop into our football. We'll start as usual. No big NBA trades this week to throw us off. We'll start with the local boys, of course. Alabama goes into College Station and wins a tough one. Ugly game, 26-20 over the Aggies. Got outplayed in the first half. And then the defense really stepped it up second half. You got to give credit Kevin Steele, Nick Saban, and the defensive players, man, against both now Ole Miss and then A&M shut them down 3 points each in the second half to clinch these
Yeah.
games. Talk about the game yesterday, Greg.
You know, it was. We thought it was gonna be an ugly game. It was an ugly game. I mean, that's just what this game has turned into the last couple of years. Took everything, but hey, we went in to a rough, tough environment, and most importantly, we came out with the win. I mean, and I just like I said, the defense. I love what they're doing. They seem to have that passion, that pride, that energy that just wasn't there for the last couple of years. After Pruitt left, it just wasn't there. It was just something missing, and it seems like that's back. I mean,
Mm,
they still make mistakes at times, it's still, but it's not ever an effort issue. You know that they're giving it all. They're playing hard, and they have a certain pride. They don't want to give up points. We saw that again that second half. I mean, they put it on A&M. I mean, they were getting after Max Johnson like no other. I mean, he looked so frustrated in that second half.
hmm Yeah, there's a
And
couple
then,
times he got hit, popped up, and looked like he had having words with a lineman about just
yeah, like what in the
do
world?
something.
Yeah. And
Um,
then, the other thing you'd like to see too is, A&M, they shut down a running game. And he said, Jalen, you're going to have to beat us with your arm. And he did it. He went out
hmm
there and he put up best game of his career thus far. And he had some receivers that really stepped up for him. And I think
hmm
they're finding some chemistry. He has some confidence in those guys. Brought in Jermaine Burton for a reason. He's starting to show why we brought him into Tuscaloosa. I mean,
Yeah, another guy of the career game, Jermaine Burton. Three shy of 200 yards receiving. He was
yeah,
talking that shit all game long. He was letting the
he
Aggies
was.
and their fans know it.
Yeah,
Uh, Early on, you kind of want him. I think early on, I said, man, he needs to shut up after he dropped a kind of a big third down, but he backed
yeah,
it up the rest of the game. He
he
made some
did.
tough catches, made some big plays, two big
Big play.
touchdowns. Um, yeah, like you said, he really showed why we thought we were getting something from Georgia there in the transfer.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
Isaiah Bond had a big game.
Big
You
game.
mentioned Milrow, career game, throwing the ball. Um, and like you said, it's huge for his confidence, the offense confidence, just the fan base's stress level and confidence going forward when
Yeah,
they can hold us to what, like 20 yards rushing total,
right.
when you take out sacks maybe. Um, and we can go in and throw the ball and win in a tough environment against a defense that was very lauded. A lot of 5 stars on
Hmm.
that defense too, a very athletic front. Um, and a little shout out to Tommy Rees. He's still, there's still problems. There's still things that we'd like to see. But it seemed like he found a weakness in that secondary that he saw maybe on that Miami game film, and exploited it. They were picking
Yeah,
on a
he
certain
did.
cornerback. I didn't catch kid's name. Don't want to embarrass him too much, but they were throwing. They found their matchups a lot in that
Yep.
game, hitting deep balls and intermediate passes.
Hmm.
Um, So yeah, great game. You mentioned defense, of course. You're right. Nothing to add to that really, except yeah, they found their nastiness again, and that's what
Right.
Saban talked about in the offseason.
Exactly.
was finding that edge and that kind of meanness to them, and they certainly seem like it. And it's instead of getting dejected when they give up a big play or a score like they seem to have the past few years, it seems to piss them off, and that's what you
Yeah,
miss.
exactly.
Yeah, those prime era, those early defenses, you think about the 2011 defense or the 15-16 defenses. If you they give up a big play or somebody scored on them, it
Big.
just made them angry. Yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
And seem to get back to that.
yeah.
And then the other thing too. I mean, lost Malachi Moore for the game. That's a huge loss. Leader of the back end there, and
Mm-hmm.
then it wasn't in past years. They've been like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, guys stepped up, did their thing.
Yeah, the
That was
great
good to
job by the
see.
guys filling in. Yeah. And you hope that that's not someone that
Long
injury isn't
term,
too
right?
bad. Yeah. Saban said it was a twisted ankle. I've read
Yeah.
high ankle sprain, so
And you
hopefully he
never
can.
know with ankles. They're
Yeah.
so all over the place. But
Yeah. You would say maybe hopefully keep him out against Arkansas this week. You
yeah,
would think, and then
maybe
hopefully he can.
hopefully back in Tennessee.
Yeah. But yeah, and another, you're happy about the second half. I mentioned that. First half looked sloppy again.
Yeah.
After an early mentioned a big, Burton had a third down drop where we had to set a 4 field goal on our opening drive instead of, we were moving.
Yeah.
Um, I think we got what one other score down 17-10 at half. And
Mm-hmm.
A&M was playing better. They were the better team that first half.
They
And
were.
credit to the coaching staff for, everyone who's, a lot of people online shouting down this coaching staff, but they've made now big adjustments in two biggest conference games so far.
Yeah. They have a
And
whole
mhm,
different looking team in the second half of both games as far as
yeah,
that
and
offensive play
and of
ability.
course you want to see the team come out on fire to start the game, but
Yeah.
uh, it's still huge that they can make those adjustments and change
Yeah.
not just that, but the players' attitudes. That they can come out and not get down by the first half and
Mm-hmm.
step up in the second half. And like you said, that defense was just vicious. They were just Max Johnson, like you said, running for his life, and he didn't even have time to run for his life. He just got swarmed. They were just pushing around the Aggie offensive line. Dallas
Because he
Turner
had
was
time.
manhandling dudes.
He had time in the first half, and they adjusted and got after that offensive
Mhm.
line in the second half because they were in his face. Like he had no time that whole second half at all.
Oh no, yeah, he was dropping back, and as soon as he completed his drop back, he was already guys
Yeah,
just pushing their linemen into him too. Like they were just manned up.
yeah.
Um,
I guess,
Still, I was gonna say looking at the negative side, still penalties. Um,
man, a
some
lot of false
frustrating
starts.
ones. Yeah, we had like three false starts in a row at one point. You had
Yeah, almost went
the
for
damn
third and
blindside block
23.
call on the blocked a
That's why.
field goal, took it back for a
Yeah,
touchdown, and get a blindside call. And all right, two things on this. One, I think it was kind of a bullshit call. The
that
guy
was a
got up beside him and just shoved him. It's not like the
yeah. That was
blindside block. That's meant to on those returns. That's meant to kill
and
those where they
killed him.
just kill the guy. That's meant to take those out the game. And save those
Right,
injuries. It
exactly.
was a Dallas Turner ran up beside the dude and shoved him, and he fell over.
Yeah, I mean it was
Um,
unnecessary because the play was
e-
already past him.
exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, come on, a blindside block, really? Like,
No, that was a
come
bullshit call. And again, Dallas Turner shouldn't have touched him because he was 15 yards behind the play, and our guy had an escort. He was scoring.
yeah,
And that would have put the game, I think, out of
that was.
reach.
I mean,
Then
that was a game right there.
it would have
Yeah,
been gave us a 14-point lead, and it really would have been just a killer. Like it killed their
yeah.
momentum. But you like to see the defense, fought back after Jalen threw a pick. We got it right back. Um, Caleb Downs, he's that dude,
He's
man.
the truth. Yeah,
He's only going to get better and better in his career here.
that
Um,
he is.
but again, great win for a lot of people that said A&M was, this was their time. They're going to beat them.
Yeah,
Pronouncing the dynasty over again. Again, like not saying this means that we're going to live up to, yours and my prediction of a national championship this year, but
but man,
Alabama first place in the SEC West right now.
yeah, hey, they've done since that Texas game. You see progress. They,
Mm-hmm.
very end of the USF game, it was ugly, but I mean, the last when they ran down that last touchdown, they just rushed it up, kept running. That would look decent.
Mm-hmm.
Second half of the, second half of the Ole Miss game looking decent.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the Mississippi State game in the second half yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So you see progress, you see improvement. And that's all you can really ask for. They're not.
Yeah. And yeah, on
We're
to the
getting it.
next one.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Moving on to the big game of the day, the Red River Shootout, and it lived up to the name.
Wow.
Oklahoma, Texas, back and forth, and the Sooners
Yeah.
pull off a
Oh, yeah.
late win. And everybody, so busy asking if Texas was back, forgot to talk about Oklahoma.
Exactly.
Um, they picked off Quinn Ewers two times, forced a fumble somewhere in there.
And that
Uh,
first like 6 minutes was like two picks, a fumble.
yeah,
uh,
it looked like Oklahoma might run them off the field. Texas stormed back.
yeah.
Oklahoma stormed back. Texas stormed back from a late deficit. They were
Yeah.
down 10 late, took the lead, and
Yeah.
then
Tied
Dylan
up.
Gabriel marches them right down the field for a last minute winner.
Yeah. Yeah. They.
Um, Go ahead.
That OU team. Like we had said going into the game, I mean, there's really no talk about OU at all.
Hmm.
Like they weren't. It was like everybody was looking at last year and saying, "Man, they were so bad last year. They got ran off the field in this game." But if you watch OU at all this year, you saw it was a different team. They're much
Hmm.
better. They haven't played anybody, and that's the biggest thing is who have they played. But in those games where they hadn't played anybody, they were doing what they were supposed to do. It looked a
Hmm.
lot crisper, and they did it. They did the thing. Now they're at top. They jumped up to what number 5 or 6 in both polls. So, I mean, they jumped pretty high there. And the thing is, the way that the Big 12 is looking, we're probably likely to see this matchup again in December.
Yeah, for sure. It does not look like they have any serious challengers.
No.
I think my sleeper team Baylor just looked bad. Kind of we talked about Texas Tech maybe playing spoiler. No.
It-
Um, yeah, it doesn't look.
you know,
TCU's obviously in a rebounding year.
they're yikes.
They don't-
Bad loss to Iowa State and
yeah,
got
they got.
dominated. Yikes. And then
Yeah, they're not.
even on Friday night, the team that I thought was gonna be a contender,
Hmm.
K State, that's a bad loss, losing to
Yeah,
Okie State.
yeah, against an Okie State team that's just not looked good this year.
Huh.
So
So yeah,
yeah, yeah, like you said, Oklahoma jumped up to fifth in the AP poll, seventh in the coaches poll. So yeah, a good win for the Sooners, and we got to look at them
yeah.
as a legit playoff contender now.
Oh yeah,
Um,
they could easily run the table. At
hmm.
least go into that Big 12 title game more than likely a rematch against Texas. But there's a good chance they go into that game undefeated if they keep playing like they have for the first 5 weeks of the season.
Yeah, for sure. And that would be a first, right? Those two meeting in the Big 12 title game, or have they done that?
I think they did a couple years ago.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Right?
Let's see.
Was it 2018?
It was let's see.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
they
it was
did it
years.
after, in the 10-man years. Uh 2018, yeah, they beat Texas by 12.
Yeah,
Kyler Murray led Sooners.
yeah,
Um
yeah. I would expect to see that one again. And I mean, if OU comes in that game undefeated, Texas, it's just with the one loss to OU. I mean, it definitely should have for sure playoff implications.
yeah, cuz Texas is not out of it. They got the
No,
Bama
not
win in
at all.
there on the resume, and
Yeah,
this is not a bad loss by any stretch.
no, not a bad loss at all.
Uh-uh. Let's see other big games on the day. Let's talk about a night one. Notre Dame goes into Louisville, and the Cards get them. The magic of I don't think it's Papa John's Stadium anymore, but wherever the Cardinals play. Big win for the program. First year coach Jeff Brom. Uh, they started 5-0. Didn't look pretty in a couple of those games. Struggled
Mm-mm.
last week against NC State. People like, oh, they're going to be overmatched. I thought the same.
Yeah,
And they just kind of bullied Notre Dame all night.
they did.
Uh,
They ran all over Notre Dame.
mm-hmm.
Shut down. They completely shut down the Notre Dame offense.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I mean, it wasn't really after 7-7. They dominated the rest of the game. Like there wasn't any question. Like there was no time when I thought, man, I expect Notre Dame to come back. They got dominated. Like they didn't. They took the will away from them. And now that's what 6-0 on the year. They're quietly having a heck of a season. It's very under the radar, and they're starting to get a little love now after that win last night. But that's much in his first year. Jeff Brom, he's doing a heck of a job. Came home and he's doing it. And then what the other Brom is offensive coordinator, so it's a family affair. Came
Yeah.
back to Louisville. So
Brian Brom, right?
Brian
Yeah.
Brom, yeah.
Yeah. No, they got a stud at running back there.
Oh, he put up yards yesterday.
He had, let's see, where was that at? Let's see, Jordan,
Yeah.
143 yards, 2 scores. Just, yeah, they made Hartman look bad. Um, Big win
First
for
time he's
Louisville.
looked terrible all year. Like he looked
Yeah,
average. Yeah.
look terrible. Yeah, just making bad throws, just
Yeah.
rush, getting hit a lot. Same thing, like just getting pushed around that line.
Mhm.
Um, and now Louisville, they got still some tough, games from the schedule.
But nothing
But
that says not winnable. Like
no,
they could really
certainly
win the.
not. Yeah.
They could run the table, and it wouldn't shock me.
No,
The
yeah.
schedule
Looking
is
at their
tough,
schedule, yeah, they
but
could
all
absolutely run the
winnable.
table.
Yeah.
They don't have to play Florida State, so maybe they
Nope.
can get in and play
I
an
don't think they.
ACC title game.
Yeah, very well. And you have said it. That was your team plan for the state.
Hmm.
So kudos on that so far. It's looking good because that's a good team there. But yeah, I mean the ACC still a little tougher than what folks thought.
Yeah,
But we'll
a
talk about
gauntlet.
the
Yeah,
other
we'll
ACC shocker.
we'll talk about that later. We'll save that for the end of this review because it's its own thing.
uh,
You see another ranked matchup. LSU went into Missouri and came back. A good comeback win for them. Uh, Poor Missouri. They've had in these games where they trying to beat these SEC big boys and just late cannot pull it
yeah,
out. 32
yeah,
second
they,
half points for the LSU Tigers uh, to get a late win. They got a pick six that sealed it late, despite a great
right.
effort by is it Brandon Cook? Um,
He had a good game.
yeah,
Man,
411 yards.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, the
but
game was exactly what you thought it was going to be a
mhm,
shootout from start to finish. Not much defense. I guess, LSU had some clutch plays at times to get the
mhm.
win, but that defense is still a mess.
Yeah,
They give
you
up.
got to worry about that D if you're an
You're a
LSU
fan.
fan.
Yeah.
I mean, Jaden Daniels, another outstanding game. 259, 3 touchdowns through the air, and what a couple, a big time on the run. Where's his running stats?
Yeah,
He
it's
also ran for 130 yards and a score. So yeah, that offense is fine. Brian Kelly's got the offense rolling there in Baton Rouge, but that defense
yeah. If
is
that if
looking
they didn't have those
rough.
two losses, and if they didn't have those two losses on the season, he might still very well could be if he continues with this pace. But he definitely be in the Heisman hunt because that man's
Hmm.
putting up stats every week.
Yeah, every week. Um, let's see. Other big games. Let's see. Talked about our Maryland will not be beating Ohio State this year. Um, they had them. Good first half. It was tied at
Yeah,
halftime. Uh,
and I'm
just
10-0 quick.
yeah, Maryland up 10-0 quick, and it just seemed to kind of piss off Ohio State because then The rest of the way, Ohio State outscored them 37-7.
Yeah.
In a big second half, they just leaned on them. They said, they kind of remembered, hey, we're immensely more talented
Yeah.
in this team, and we should
Yeah.
win.
McCord had a great second half.
Yeah, real great. One of those kind of things that go right. We got Marvin Harrison Jr. We should probably throw the ball to him.
Yeah. They
Um,
just dominant.
mhm.
Second half it was just no question.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Let's see. Georgia stomped Kentucky.
Hmm.
This is kind of the Georgia team everyone's been waiting for.
Yeah, they
Uh,
took it to Kentucky. Obviously, they've been listening to everybody
hmm
talk about them because, and you could going into the game, you could kind of sense it just because the type of offense that Kentucky runs is what Georgia's best at stopping.
hmm
You're knocking out physical Georgia, and they don't have near the talent that Georgia has. So that wasn't going to work. And Winston's a decent quarterback, but his arm wasn't going to beat Georgia yesterday, especially in Athens. It just wasn't going to happen. Maybe a
No.
little worse than I thought it was going to be. I thought maybe they score maybe a little bit more and maybe not give up as many points. But Georgia showed why they're Georgia and why they're the two straight national champions. And for now, they quieted everybody down a little bit.
Yeah, I think the big thing was they had a great first half, a good start. They're up
Yeah,
34-7 at halftime.
yeah,
Carson Beck played the best game in the Georgia, his best game in the Georgia uniform so far.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and you said it, you called it last week. Like you just mentioned again there. Kentucky's offensive style just plays right in Georgia's hands, and Georgia has the better athletes. So um, they could kind of, yeah, like you said, see that coming. Georgia needed to make a statement. They did. Kentucky just got to regroup. Not the end of the world for
yeah.
them,
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the
Um,
Wildcats will be fine. Big game this coming up week. I mean, for
hmm
both teams coming off a loss, see who wants it more. You got
hmm
Missouri, Kentucky. That should be a very interesting game.
Yeah. Very interesting. Running through the rest of the top 25, Michigan handled Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Florida State handled Virginia Tech. USC, whew,
Oh
overtime over Arizona at
man,
home. Not even in Tucson. Uh,
no overtime.
in LA, Arizona's on. They're on the right track. If they can get some athletes there, maybe that move to the Big 12 will help them
Oh,
somewhat. I don't
they're
know, but
on the way.
yeah,
They're doing something right there in Tucson for sure.
yeah.
They
I
I felt bad that I thought maybe they're gonna pull it off there, but
just
man,
couldn't complete the win.
yeah,
Tough loss for them. That USC defense, that's just a ticking time bomb. It's got to bite them
yeah,
in the ass here soon.
got
Um, Staying in LA, UCLA gets an upset win over Washington State. Defense just Cam Ward and that Washington State offense just played
it.
horribly. Um,
For the first time, they looked terrible. They didn't look good at all,
mm-mm,
and they didn't. They just looked. He had a hundred and only a hundred, only 197 yards,
mm-hmm,
two interceptions, and not the Washington State that we've seen all year at all. The crazy thing is like when that line came out last week, I guess we should have paid attention more. But I was like, man,
mm-hmm.
there's no way. No, I'm like this Washington State team is looking so good, and
Yeah,
they're going into the Rose Bowl. It's not intimidating at all. But man, they UCLA was ready for them. They had a good game plan in place. Chip
yeah.
Kelly had the perfect game plan for it.
Mm-hmm. I took the Cougars in the picks column on
Yeah,
Friday. I was like, I'll
I
take
thought,
them. With 3.5 on the road, and
yeah,
did not end well. But good win
right
for.
on. Yeah, big win for the Bruins there.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, absolutely. That puts them at 4-1. That creates that's just a big old log jam in that Pac-12 now.
and,
Right behind the big boys.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
Let's see elsewhere. Oh, where did my scores go? Come
Oh,
on, Spectrum Internet.
you already mentioned my son went out for a second. The North Carolina boy, they're looking
Hmm.
good.
They did, yeah. Here we are, yeah. 40-7 win over Syracuse. Drake May over 400 yards. Yeah, they got a big one of their own next week against an opponent, which we will talk about here in just a second. We'll get to them. Oregon State, a big shootout win of their own, 52-40 over Cal. They're just rolling along since their loss. Ole Miss survived a tough one against Arkansas. Arkansas now 4 losses in a row.
Mm,
Um,
it's
they
tough.
need to, yeah, they need to keep the wheels from falling off there. But
Yeah.
Ole Miss, a couple good bounce backs after the Alabama loss. You know, the emotional win last week, and then didn't let that burn them out and won a tough
That,
one.
Cause that Ole Miss Arkansas over the years has been a crazy game.
Hmm. Yeah, that's always
So you
been.
know
Yeah, that's the
that
famous 7 overtime ones.
the
That
game that
fourth and
saved our season.
yeah, that was that 4th and 20 whatever
Yeah, with
conversion, that crazy one.
yeah,
Um, yeah, just a tough series, a wild series, and a good win for Ole Miss. In Laramie, late night prime time, and on Fox, the Pokes, Wyoming, upset
team.
Fresno State. Scored all 24 of their points in the first half and held on for dear life.
Yeah, they did.
Um, Fresno actually had the second longest winning streak in the country at 14 before this loss. So Wyoming, again, tough place to play. I had them in the picks column. They were an underdog.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
that's
that.
one. Yeah, I had them on a didn't win any parlays this week, but definitely had them because
Hmm.
Laramie's just not a place you can go in and win easily.
Uh-uh. Yeah, teams
I
have trouble
understand.
there, and that coaching staff
That,
has that team playing tough.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely good team.
and now the one ranked team we haven't mentioned that played yesterday, the Miami Hurricanes.
Boy,
Uh,
boy,
an ugly game, but they took control late over Georgia Tech at home in
yeah,
Miami, or wherever they play, and were running out the clock. And then they had a chance to just literally take a knee and let the clock wind down. Instead, they chose to run the ball. They then fumbled the ball. Georgia Tech recovered, and 4 plays later, Georgia Tech hits a 44-yard touchdown pass to take the lead and win the game.
yeah.
Uh,
Seconds.
it's one. I sitting there watching it live. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. When he
Um,
fumbled, I was like, because I was starting to fall asleep a little bit, and I was, well, he just fumbled that ball. Whoa, trying to wake up.
yeah. I think I had it on, trying to get the kid to sleep, and
Yeah,
just maybe not even with the sound on or anything, or just not paying attention to it. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, here they go. But the announcers, I did have it on yet because I remember them saying like, well, why aren't they taking a knee here? And I was just like, they'll just run up the gut or whatever. And no, fumbled, just got stripped. Uh, and you feel bad for the running back, but
yeah,
why
he
the
was,
coaching staff and
and put him
Cristobal's
in that
done this
position.
before. That's the crazy thing. Mario Cristobal did the same thing at Oregon. Could have kneeled it out against Stanford, ran it. They fumbled. Stanford got the ball, scored a winning touchdown. Uh, I think I saw he was asked about the game. Said, "Yeah, I probably should have stepped in and told him to take a knee." Like, yeah, no shit. You're the head coach. Like,
Yeah,
be aware of the time and the situation. We didn't even mention that in the Alabama game. That was a weird mental thing that could have bit Alabama in the ass. They had a chance to run the clock out at the end on first down. Jalen Milroe throws a bounce pass to a receiver, which I'm told, someone told me afterwards that was maybe a Milroe call because that receiver was uncovered. And
yeah,
that's great. Okay, but you got to make that pass then. Because if then afterwards, everyone's like, oh, that's a heads up play, but
yeah.
and then the Jace McClellan, lucky, lucky that he
Oh,
batted himself up to him and ran for the
gee,
first down. But
gee.
yeah,
Yeah,
Miami with one of
man.
the uh,
But that's
worst
what they get for
losses
one of
you'll
those.
see in a while.
That's what they get for one of those terrible uniforms.
I didn't like the Miami Knights uniform.
That was so like some of that stuff is cool, but that was just horrendous. Like I don't know, that was terrible. Like the all black uniforms, they could have did so many cool things with that, and they just chose the ugliest thing ever. Like I don't know.
Yeah, they were. It was interesting. I saw what they're going for. I could appreciate it, but
Yeah,
yeah, I don't think they pulled it off. Either way, I don't know if Miami fans will ever want to see that uniform again,
no,
just
that
because of what happened. Um,
that has been bad. And the thing is, they've had issues with Georgia Tech many
hmm
times over a couple of seasons where he thought for sure the Canes are going to win, and Georgia Tech, no matter good, bad, and they find a way to either beat or hang with the Canes like no other. If there's a game that they get up for, it's that Miami game.
yeah,
One reason they always
yeah.
give them that.
Didn't they have a bad loss during the Mark Rick years there?
Mhm.
I think Georgia Tech beat that shit out of them one time when Mark Rick was there. But yeah, I think that covers it. Unless there's any other games you wanted to talk about from yesterday,
I think we
I don't think anything of note.
okay. I guess
Um,
Colorado got the win.
yeah, Colorado.
Late
Deion,
field goal.
Coach Prime said they played like hot garbage. Um,
They got the win.
yeah,
Getting close to eligibility.
yeah, four wins now. So four times as many as last year. Um, we mentioned Texas Tech and Baylor as our disappointing teams of the year. Texas Tech won that one, kind of blew out Baylor in Waco too.
You know,
You
like
mentioned TCU got blown out by Iowa State. Well, not blown out, but just not in that game really.
yeah, yeah, that's a team that fell off hard.
hmm